Manoj Kumar sir, Namaste sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is audible.
Thank you, sir. A very good afternoon to one and all, and once again, a very happy new year to all the participants. I am Mr. Ganesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Jyoti Institute of Technology. Once again, welcome all the participants for the third session of Day 4 AICTE ISTE sponsored 1 week refresher program. It's my immense pleasure to introduce the current session speaker, Dr. Manoj Kumar M. Dr. Manoj Kumar M. obtained his bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering from Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology, Bangalore, Karnataka. He obtained his postgraduate degree in computer science and engineering from Nitte Meenakshi Institute of Technology, Bangalore, Karnataka. He obtained his doctoral degree from Jain University, Bangalore, Karnataka. Dr. Manoj Kumar M is currently working as an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Jyoti Institute of Technology, Bangalore. He takes care of the Jyoti Group website's development and maintenance. He is having 1.5 years experience in industry as well as 9 years of academic experience in the field of computer science and engineering. His research interest includes cloud computing, cybersecurity, and Internet of Things. Dr. Manoj has published more than 10 papers in reputed international journals. He has delivered several technical talks and reviewed papers for reputed journals. He has got a patent on his credit. He has introduced Coursera, AWS Academy, and Red Hat Academy courses to the students. Around 1,150 students are benefited till date. He is a life member of Indian Society for Technical Education, Computer Society of India, Free Software Movement, Karnataka. The project titled Smart Navigation Stick for Blind using IoT guided by him has won second prize at Avishkar project exhibition or competition conducted by Vishveshwaraya Technological University and got funding from Technical Education Quality Improvement Program of Government of India, TechWip. Dr. Manoj Kumar, we are happy to have you in this occasion. Now I request Dr. Manoj to continue this session. Thank you one and all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ganesh, for the wonderful introduction. A very good afternoon, everybody who are present here, to all the participants. And let me share my screen. I welcome you all again for the AICTE sponsored 1 week induction refresher program on recent advances in civil engineering, organized by Department of Civil Engineering, Jyoti Institute of Technology. So today I'll be talking about how IoT is revolutionizing the construction industry. The agenda for today's talk is let us look into the introduction part of the IoT. So what are sensors, evolution of IoT, different applications of IoT, IoT life cycle, then how IoT has a scope in civil industry, what are the benefits of Internet of Things in civil industry, what is BMS, building management system, and what IoT enables in civil engineering. And let us also look into the major players of civil industry IoT manufacturers. Basically, so Internet of Things is network of embedded sensors, meters, appliances, and devices capable of sending and receiving data about their current state and surrounding environment over the internet. So sensors are the devices that detect and respond to change in the environment. So IoT has been around for quite a while, but only recently as it's affordable for its personal use. So our mobile phone or smartphone has various sensors installed in it. If you look at this diagram, so there is an ECG sensor here to monitor the heart rates. There is a motion sensors to detect the motion, which is connected to an internet, and the internet again is connected. Several things is connected to the internet. Several devices connected to the internet, including in hospitals, different servers, different storage on the cloud. So evolution of IoT. So if you look at this, so before the internet, it was the communication between human to human, which was using a postal system or a fixed landline or a mobile phone system or with the SMS, etc. So a smart networks brings an internet of content. So that is an early internet era. So where we all started using the emails and we started accessing information over the web, and we have some entertainment websites in the internet. So a smart IT platforms enables an internet of services where services are introduced through internet. So it may be ordering a particular product which will be delivered to our house without we going to purchase that product. So that is an e-productivity, e-commerce, and kind of things. For this, a smartphones and applications enables an internet of social media networks such as Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram kind of things, including Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. So along with this, when smart devices are connected, smart devices and objects and tags enables us an Internet of Things, so which includes identification, tracking, and monitoring, metering. So it's all most of the data which is generated through the sensors are maybe a semi-structured or unstructured data. So a data analysis to this, after Internet of Things, it is an Internet of Everything era. It is all about Internet of Everything, where it connects people, process, data, and different things. So if you compare this machine to machine, so it's all about a device that captures an event, transmits it over a network to an application that translate into meaningful information. So all these things can be doable without a human interaction or without a human involvement. So that is an Internet of Things. It actuates, it will get a new useful insights. So that is possible with the Internet of Things. So bringing together the people, process, data, and thing to make network connections more relevant by turning information into actions. So this requires Internet of Everything requires some sort of data analysis using the different algorithms to make sense of the data which is collected by the different devices of IoT. So these are the major applications of IoT in general. So one is in consumer industry. It may be a smart home control, includes lighting, security, and a different comfort as the home automation required. Optimized energy use, and for maintenance, IoT is being used. And in the retail industry, it's all about product tracking for inventory control, and to focus on the marketing, IoT is being used in the retail industry. In the medical industry, it is in wearable devices, implanted devices, and different components, and telehealth services. So IoT is being used. In the military, it is for resource allocation, for the threat analysis, using different sensors, and the troop monitoring being used. In an industry, it is smart meters, warehouse sensing, manufacturing control, and the climate control. In the automotive segment, it's for parking, in the parking area, to see whether the and to know the traffic flow, and to detect any theft which has happened. So for anti-theft location. So in automobile industry, for all these things, IoT is being used. In an environmental things, it is for species tracking, for weather prediction, and for the resource management. When it comes to agriculture segment, it is for crop management, soil analysis, and for the other things in the agriculture. So these are the different types of sensor being used in IoT. So temperature sensors, it include a transmissive type, IR sensors, and a reflective type of IR sensors, ultrasonic sensors, gyroscope sensors, accelerometer sensor, and rain sensors, and soil moisture sensors, phototransistors, water flow sensors, heartbeat sensors, and alcohol sensors to detect the alcohol level consumed, and the color sensors to identify the color. So PIR sensors, again, it is a type of IR sensor, a passive infrared sensor, a gas sensor to make out the quality of air present, and the smoke sensor. And there are two types of smoke sensors we'll be seeing in the further slides. And the temperature sensors, again, a type of IR receiver, LDR sensor, then humidity sensors, flex sensor. Basically, this flex sensor is used to identify the cows in a particle. Then solar cell sensor, the metal detector, and the real-time clock sensor, and the vibration sensor. So all these sensors are being in the market. So it costs a few tens of rupees to thousands of rupees. And all these sensors are also used in the home automation. May know anybody has worked in an IoT so far, or you started with IoT projects to include the sensors in your field and civil field? May know the answer from the audience. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Currently, we have not implemented IoT in our civil engineering field, but recently, few of our students has done a project using Python programming.
Great. See, looking into this sensor, there are different sensors. There are around 20 plus sensors on the screen. Now there's a question for the audience. What sensors does smart door should require? For us to enable the smart door in an home automation for various purposes, it may not be for an house, or it may be for any building. For us to come up with a smart door, which of these sensors must be used in that? So can someone predict this? Either you can tell the answer or put it on the comment box. Anything is fine. I'm just displaying the different sensors here. So to enable the smart door, so what sensors can be used here, or what sensor must be used in the smart door? And the temperature sensor, basically, as the name suggests, it is used to sense the temperature. As most of the sensor names indicates that what is the purpose of those sensors. IR sensor, basically IR sensor is used to detect some obstacle. Again, ultrasonic sensors, the first row and the fourth sensor. So that is used to detect the object in what length it is, what is the distance between that object from the particle, from the sensor. So ultrasonic sensor is used to measure the distance between the particle and the system. And IR sensor is to detect the obstacle. Gyroscope sensor is to sense the angular velocity. And accelerometer, again, it is for it sends the linear velocity. And light sensors detects what is the presence of light in terms of illumination. So water flow, again, heartbeat sensors, alcohol sensors. So for us to enable with the smart door, so we require these sensors, these particular sensors, that is a passive infrared sensor for detecting motion and activate door opening or closing. One is biometric sensors are required to take attendance and also to note a count of people entering as well as leaving the door. So that is probably required. Then a camera to capture videos and photos of the visitor to make the door a smart door, and a metal detector if any person is entering with some suspicious things like that. So using these sensors, so we can come up with a smart door, and these are the possible. These are the most used sensors available in the market. So let us see more about the smoke sensors, which is widely being used in the home automations as well as in the industries. A smoke sensor is a device that senses smoke and its levels or different levels of smoke. It detects the presence of smoke, gases, and flames surrounding their field. There are two sensors of such kind. One is ionization smoke sensors. One is photoelectric smoke sensors. So ionization is more responsive to flaming fires, and the photoelectric sensors are more responsive to the smoldering fires. Let us see this short video to differentiate between these two sensors. I'll play a while. Please confirm me whether it is audible for you.
Well, there are two main types of smoke detectors available. Photoelectric detectors.
Is the audio in this particular video is audible for you?
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Well, there are two main types of smoke detectors available. Photoelectric detectors work by using a light sensing chamber. As smoke enters the chamber, it disrupts the path of a laser and triggers the alarm. These detectors are better at sensing slow burning or smoldering fires. Ionization detectors use two electrically charged plates to ionize the air in the sensor. When smoke enters the detector, it disrupts the flow of the ions and triggers the alarm. Ionization detectors are stronger at detecting fast flaming fires. However, due to their design, they can be triggered by dust or steam. A dual sensor detector includes both a photoelectric and ionization detector, offering the best smoke and fire protection.
So now in the current systems, we have both the sensors installed on the same device. You have observed both this ionization and photoelectric sensors. So both has their own responsive ways. But usually what happens, so we use both the sensors on an appliance to get benefited or to get alerts from both types of the fires. So let us look into the IoT in construction industry. So what enables or what IoT contributes to the construction industry, how construction industry is making benefited from the IoT. So there are different segments in construction industry, such as supply replenishment and sufficient and travel routes for managing workers and health, building and structure health monitoring, then in environmental monitoring, security control for saving power, fuel, and energy. So for all the segments, IoT has been introduced. Earlier, all the sensors were all, we could have found all the sensors in the mobile phones. But these days, the sensors moved to the construction industry as well. So IoT enables a self-diagnosis, self-configuration, and self-optimization in construction industry. So that means when I say self-diagnosis, it will collect information about the area surrounding environment. It will, based on the diagnosis, it will configure by itself. If required, it is optimized by itself to make benefits or to enhance the different things in construction industry. IoT sensors have become crucial to improve operational efficiency, reduce cost, and enhancing worker safety. The broad segments are safety concerns, resources management and budgeting, waste management, daily remote management. So let us elaborate on these things. So enables just-in-time provision. When we say enables just-in-time provision, for example, regularly what we do, we have several materials in the construction place and the construction site, and we don't have any automatic tracking for that. And everything which is happening manual, the ordering when the stock is coming to the end, so we order it manually and we count it manually. So that is what being practiced. So when IoT is adopted for the construction site, so just-in-time provision can be enabled. So one possible method to enable this is using an RFIDs. Using an RFIDs for the crates, which will take the units of supply out from the stock for the construction. So we can put RFIDs and we can keep a track of the count, how many crates are used, how many those units are used. And when the units is come to a given level, when it reaches to a particular level, then there is an automation in the system. It will trigger an order management. It will trigger and it will order the sufficient units for the work. So thereby we reduce the downtime, and thereby we can save our budget by enabling the just-in-time provision. So using RFIDs can enable this thing. And usually these RFIDs are generally used in the tolls for the tracking of the vehicles. So tracks, tools, and equipment. So there are different equipments, different machineries which works on the construction site. And using IoT, we have to concentrate on preventive maintenance than the reactive maintenance. So when it comes to preventive maintenance, even before it breaks down, or even before it approaches to the end of the life, so we have to replace or repair that particular machine for the better usage of that, and to avoid the downtime in order to save the budget and in order to increase the cost efficiency. So how can we track tools and equipment on the construction site? So we have discussed several sensors which are available for the IoT. So maybe we can use the temperature sensors, as I have shown several sensors in the diagram here. There are several sensors here: temperature sensor, the ultrasonic sensor, gyroscope sensors. We can use the gyroscope sensors, and we can detect whether that particular vehicle, maybe it is an JCB or Hitachi, whatever. So many different earth moving vehicles, whether it is functioning or whether it is in what state, whether it is moving, whether it is functioning properly or not. All those things we can sense from the gyroscope sensor. We can even use the accelerometer sensors for that. We can use a temperature sensor for the vehicles and to detect what amount of heat is getting generated from that particular vehicle. If it is abnormal, if it is more than the usual level, then we can sense that some parts of that vehicle is not functioning properly. So in turn, it is probably using a more fuel than it has to use. So we can use several sensors which are available, like a temperature sensor, as I said, gyroscope, accelerometer, if required, so ultrasonic sensor. We can use several sensors which are available to track the vehicle and to monitor the state of the vehicle. And we can also make use of the GPS sensors. So thereby we can enable the preventive maintenance, and we can avoid the downtime. So next one is an remote usage and activity monitoring. So remote usage, we're all are very comfortable these days with the wearable devices. We have smart watches, we have smart bands, kind of things in the market. And earlier it was costing too much for a normal person to afford. But this has come in hundreds of rupees to buy. Probably it starts from 300, 400 rupees for the smart bands, and for Apple watch kind of thing, Apple smart watch can be available for 45, 50,000, the basic version. So we can use wearables to track several things. Those who are using the wearable devices, smart watches and smart bands, are already making the benefits out of it. It will count the distance. It will also convert it. It will track the step count. It will track the sleep time. It will track it will take. It will sense the body temperature, and it will sense the body temperature, and it will suggest what is the temperature. It will take the SpO2 values probably. So different sensors are used in the smartwatch. The detect and monitor the health style of a particular person, or a lifestyle of a particular person. So if we enforce the workers on the construction site to use wearable devices, it is very easy for a site manager to monitor where the workers, where are they located in a big construction site, and how many workers are located in a particular area in the construction site. And we can also monitor their health, and we can also monitor whether they're working actually or they are not working. That helps us to prevent fatigue and reduce the risk of the workers. And also we can take the efficient work from the workers. And it also helps when we are tracking the workers, we can also uh, have such benefits like in case of any disaster, in case of any fire, we will get to know how many workers are there in the construction site in a particular area of the construction site and how to vacate them to a safer place. And all those things are possible with the wearable devices along with the activity monitoring. And the next one is power and fuel saving. So as you all know, it accounts for large proportion of the machine's operational expenses. So when it comes to the expenses, power in a construction site, power is also a considerable expenses, which is a major portion of a machine's operational expenses. As I discussed little earlier, we can have several sensors for the vehicles, and we can see whether the vehicles are working properly with the right amount of heat getting generated out of it, and whether it is functioning properly. We can track all those things, and if any abnormalities, then we can think of replacing or repairing even before it break down, or even before it costs us more than the usual fuel cost. Probably we can use several sensors for that. As I said, a temperature sensors, or an accelerometer and gyroscope sensors, and GPS systems to deal with this power and fuel saving kind of thing. And in the sensors which are placed in the completed buildings and structures also giving us a lot of information, and it is also helping us to efficiently manage the resources, and which leads to the cost cutting. So the different sensors which are being used in the completed buildings, such as humidity sensors, to detect the moisture in an environment, and a CO2 which is really required. Then a light sensors to efficiently manage the light system and to save the energy. And the water flow, we can check any abnormalities in the water flow, whether it is cut down or if it is more, we can detect with the water flow sensors. And the smoke sensors, smoke and gas sensors. With the smoke sensors, yes, it is used for fire alerting to stop few devices and to alert several things. So we have seen the video for that. And the gas sensors to check the air quality, and the other possible sensors for improving the efficiency of the monitoring. So the benefits which has been discussed, enables real-time inspection of construction sites for easier control of operations. IoT sensors are used on construction equipment and vehicles to locate and monitor them around the clock. IoT can be used to generate equipment, health data, to guide maintenance operations for timely repairs and prevention of breakdowns. With the help of IoT devices on a construction site, the site inspector can track the workers on the site and respond to emergency situations aptly and rapidly. So that is through wearable devices. IoT can increase revenue by driving cost savings as well as enhancing overall construction quality. So we missed this particular slide, which is very important. It's an IoT life cycle. Basically, we discussed several things which are in the construction site as well as in the home automation and the general applications of IoT. So what makes, so how actually it works? What is the skeleton of this IoT? Where is the start of this and where is the end of this IoT? So it basically, it starts with a device connection. There are, when I say devices, it is a sensors, it may be a component, it may be a meters, it may be an appliances, it may be an objects, anything. So so devices has to be connected. So when I say Internet of Things, it has to be connected to the internet. So the devices are objects, or the things are connected to the internet. So IoT devices connectivity has to happen with an embedded intelligence. So once it is connected, once all these devices, once all these objects are in connection, it starts sensing the data. It starts collecting the data. As I said, different sensors will collect different types of data. There are intelligent sensors which will also react. So when connection happens, it starts sensing the data. So it captures the data, it collects the data. And once it is connected, so it has to be communicated. It has to be stored in some place, and it has to be, whether the storage may be in the local server, or it may be in a cloud server. Cloud is basically a storage on a web, a storage on internet, which is given on rental basis to the users. Usually what happens, the data which is being collected from various sensors, from thousands and millions of sensors, are actually preferable to store in the cloud, because it is available for everybody anytime than the local storage. Because if we keep the data in the local storage, if we do not maintain the 24/7, then the data cannot be accessible. So that is the reason it is preferable to store the data in the cloud. So once the data is sensed, once devices are connected, once the data is sensed, when devices started collecting the data, started collecting the information from the environment, so it has to be communicated. It has to be communicated through a network, because when it is connected, probably the sensors are put in some forest region, and the system, which several things will happen in one central place. So the data has to be communicated through a network. So for that, access networks are required. When it is an access networks, it is a network which we are connected to an internet. So suppose if I'm using a particular system here, if I'm connected through a broadband or from an hotspot from a mobile, that is my access network. So through access network, the data, the collected data is transferred to the system or to the server. So once it is collected, so data is, the devices are connected, the data is started collecting, the data are getting collected, and it has communicated over a network, and it is stored in the cloud. And once it is stored, here it is in fantastic things. We have an data analytics. So if you just collect the data, if you just store the data in a huge server, it makes no sense if you just have the data. It really makes no sense if we just keep the data, abundant of data. We call it as a big data. Because in 2021, there are 50 billion sensors, devices are connected in an Internet of Things. There are 50 billion devices are connected. That 50 billion devices are sensing the data, collecting the data, which is put it in the cloud. So the storage has already crossed a TBs. We are still using in GBs. It has crossed TBs, ecobytes, jottabytes kind of things. So finally, it is in petabyte kind of thing. So data analytics is very important. Data analytics is nothing but there is a data there is a collected data. So we have to investigate that data. So all these things is happening with an algorithm. There is no manual intervention. There is no human intervention here. Even a human cannot look at the data also. It is a huge data. So for all these things can be done by a machines only. All these things can be analyzed by an algorithms only. It's all a system. So the collected data has to be analyzed. Analysis has a different parts or different phases. First, data cleansing has to be happen. Data mine. So what is there in the data? Data mining has to take place. Then data warehouse. We have to store the data properly. Then we have to apply the analytics. So why are we applying the analytics in the data? we have to get some valuable insights. We have to derive some patterns. We have to derive some conclusions out of that data. It is just collecting. See, for example, a temperature sensor is collecting some temperature information and it is storing in the system. So looking at the temperature information, we have to decide, so what is the condition of that surrounding environment? Or what is the condition of that particular appliance after it collecting the temperature? So that insight has to be done. So that insight has to be derived. So that pattern has to be derived. So data analytics enables us to derive some meaningful conclusions, some meaningful insights with the collected data. Again, this big data analytics is a very vast field in a computer industry. There are big data analytics algorithms available to analyze the set of data. Here it takes place an artificial intelligence and cognitive intelligence analysis of the edge computing. So like that. So once data analytics is done, so we get some data value. So with that data value, analysis to action, APIs and processors and actionable intelligence. So once we investigate that collected data, we get some conclusion. So that is an actionable thing. So what is happening there? For example, a smoke sensor is alerting us with some values here, some data. So then we have to look at, then we will get to know there is some disaster happening or there is some problem happening there. Then we have to react for that. So that is the data value. That is the data insight for that. Certain things has to be triggered. A fire brigade people has to be called and they have to come. So many things has to happen with that, so that you are well aware of in case of smoke. So finally, so what is the last thing? We started with the data connection, the device connection here, the objects connection. So finally, we are at the human value. All these things we are doing just to probably a commercial companies are doing it for a commercial purpose, for a monetary benefits. But ultimately, all this connected data, all this connected information from various sensors, millions of sensors are to create an human value. It's for well-being for the humans. Probably if it is considered for, we all know that what is the effect of global warming, which is coming in. Since a decade, we are discussing about the global warming, and now we are collecting the data about everything. We have several sensors. We can also contribute, we can also investigate, and we can also try avoiding the global warming. So it creates it, maybe the monetary benefits are for the well-being of the humans. So this thing will help. So that is possible with this data insight. So from data, from the device connectivity to the human value. So this is the cycle. So Internet of Things from connection to benefit. So data connection, device connection, connectivity, data sensing and collecting, data transport and access, data analytics, data value defined by an actions, human value, apps and experiences. The final outcome of the connectivity and the data which is being collected. So you all know about a building management system. Even before IoT, there was BMS. So they were monitoring the huge buildings, probably the commercial buildings or the flats, for monitoring different things related to this energy, related to this fire safety, the HVAC. All these things were monitoring. But then why do we need IoT when most buildings have their own networks? Earlier also it was there. So IoT, the benefits of IoT, the introduction of IoT for the buildings or for the construction engineering or the construction sites. It may be a recent thing, maybe from a decade ago. But earlier also there was building management systems which were doing a similar task of monitoring. For monitoring purpose, there were BMS. So any idea what then why IoT is introduced, or why IoT is adopted for the BMS, building management systems? Yes. So any idea why do we need IoT when most buildings have their own networks? So what was lacking here? So we have seen a complete life cycle of IoT, and we had an BMS earlier, a legacy BMS. So the answer for this is, so IoT enables the data-driven process. IoT enables the data-driven process. As we have discussed, from the starting from the connectivity of the different devices until the human value, there won't be any human intervention. There won't be any human intervention. It's all a data-driven process. So this is in BMS with IoT. So there are different sets here, AHU, chillers, and UPS management, DG sets, different things, energy meters, which are integrated, BMS integration with the gateway. It's all, it's an internet, it enables the internet here. It's all connected to internet. Again, it is connected to the global internet here, and it is a cloud platform. All the data which is getting generated in using this different uh, appliances are stored in the cloud, and again that is in the database. So here analytics has to happen. So here, so this is an extra. So IoT is enabling a data-driven process, the collected data, because in the lag in the earlier BMS was the data which was the operational data which was getting collected was neglected, or it was not completely analyzed for any future purpose. So IoT is enabling to the amount of data, that operational data which is getting generated. So it is analyzed to get some valuable insight, to derive some patterns, and again to take some actions. So uh, in order to make the BMS more efficient, to save the power, to better better monitor the HVACs, to better monitor the DG sets, etc. And also again it enables the preventive. We can enable the preventive measures than the reactionary measures. And once it is in the net, once everything is on the net, you can connect through the web application through your desktops or laptops. You can connect to the system from mobile applications. uh, it is possible, it is portable. You can see the data from anywhere, anytime. Yes, so this is what discussing what IoT enables in the civil engineering field. Allows a transformation from reactionary to preventive maintenance, presents a real-time construction management solution, creates automated and reliable documentation. When I say reliable documentation, a human will make mistakes, but once the machine is guided, once the machine is learned, so what has to be done, it will repeat the same thing. If there is no error, if it is foolproof, if the machine, if we train the machine with 100% accuracy, then it will repeat for every time. It will be repeated. So that is how I can call it as a reliable documentation. It provides seamless project safety platform. So if we start using the wearable devices and the trackings, sensors and all, it enhances operational intelligence support. So these are there are some major players of IoT in construction industry. Is my Chrome browser is visible?
No, sir.
So how about now?
Yes, now it is visible.
Okay, thank you. So there are many ready products which are being manufactured by top IoT appliances manufacturers. So this is one monitoring system. Which was used in the Northern Territory. So to monitor the roads and the different buildings, it retained even if there was a storms happened there. So there is a customer experience story being written here. You can go through with that. So these are the different sensors which are readily available for the construction sites by the Trimble. And there are readily available systems. So the systems which I've just spoken about, like so once we start once the data is dumped to the server to get an valuable insight and to get that human value. So there are readily available systems to use by Triax company. So one is the Spot R axis. There are three different systems here. You can see the differences here. So it can control site access based on the worker credentials. It streamline worker check-ins and checkouts. Comprehensive security that automates daily reporting. So this is a readily available system we can make use. And the next intermediate version is this, a Radius version. It improves worker safety with real-time preventive alerts. Streamlined IoT solution designed for easy self-installation. Automates worker head count, timekeeping, and daily reports. The next one is a mesh version. It's real-time workers generated injury, incident, and hazard alerts, and real-time location services for your critical resources, equipment location, utilization, and fleet optimization. So there's a company called Trimble. Even they have several products which is very helpful for the construction industry. So this is used for monitoring roads. This particular sensor, and the thing is, since it cost a very high amount, they have not disclosed any sensors which are used in this product. But this product has a very good features. It is used to monitor the highway roads and tunnels. and with the bridges to check the aging of the bridger and probably wear out of the bridges. And for the railway tracks, whether is there any deviation in the track to monitor all those things. So there are readily available monitoring devices, and there are many variants also in this. So maybe it differs in the range and scope and the features as well. There are many monitoring devices which are readily available. We can directly purchase and use it on our construction sites. It has everything. So it collects the data, it sends to the system which is configured, and it will also give a meaningful insights. Next is a very important thing here. It's a dog kind of thing. I repeat, it looks like a dog, but this product is a Spot by Boston Dynamics company. It has all the capabilities in it. It has all the capabilities what we have discussed so far. And in this product, you can install whatever sensors you want. You can put up, you can customize the sensors of your requirement, and this has some capabilities. It has sensing sensors. It captures spherical images and comes with an optional PTZ camera with 30x optical zoom for detailed inspections. It has a computation, so there is a computation power here. That computation power is really required for the data analysis. A huge computational power is required for the data analysis, so that is on board. And for the manipulation, so in case if you leave this product on the construction site, if there is an obstacle, if there is a door kind of thing, if it has to open the door, it can make use of their arms and it will open the door. It can manipulate by itself. And there is a power supply for all of this to work. There's a power supply option, and on top of this, you can use any of the sensors. You can customize any of the sensors which is required. And again, let us see a very short video about this, how it functions. Is the sound audible?
Yes, sir, it is audible. So this is a product from Boston Dynamics company. We call it as a Spot, and there are different variants of this product. So this particular product which you have seen, any idea how much it costs? Any rough guess? Okay, so Sir Fakir Ahmad sir, Mohammed sir has replied with
70,000. Sir, whether it is rupees or it is sorry, it is 7,000. 7,000 rupees or $7,000. And Basuraj sir has replied with 6 lakhs. It costs $75,000. So that comes to around 55 lakhs for this particular. And there are other variants which are available, maybe with the lesser cost, with the lesser features. And this particular bot, which you have just seen, can walk at the speed of 1.6 meters per second, and it weighs up to the complete weight of this is 32 kgs, and it can operate in the temperature of minus 20 degrees Celsius to 45 degrees Celsius. And it can accommodate with itself with a slope of plus or minus 30 degrees, and it can take a stairs with the 10 inches of stairs. And the battery power is about 90 minutes for this particular device. And again, yes, this has several benefits, but when we look at the cost, maybe it may not be affordable for the small sites, for small construction sites. Let us discuss the IoT adoption barriers. Yes, so small sites where IoT does not have major scope. So IoT is not required if it is really a small sites. We have to compare, we have to get the right balance here. So what is the cost of the investment for IoT adoption, and what is the cost of the project? And if at all in the average case of the wastage, if you consider, you can get the right balance whether we have to adopt or we have to neglect the IoT in the construction site. If it is really a small sites where IoT does not have major scope, then that's one barrier of IoT. If IoT device loses connectivity, it cannot send data real time. There are options, there are buffer options, there are storage options in few of the sensors, but not with all the sensors. In few of the sensors, there are storage options, but not with all sensors. In such cases, we're all talking about this Internet of Things, and we know the barriers which we have for the internet in our locations. If a power is not there, it will not work. If internet is not there, it will not work. Any of these IoT solutions will not work. So there should be 24/7 power connectivity, 24/7 internet connectivity, where the minimum speed is required in order to IoT devices to function properly and collect the data and send to the server. So that is one barrier. So in completed buildings, poorly implemented technologies, in case IoT is adopted and it is implemented poorly, then it disempower occupants, taking away their control of their environment and frustrating their user experience. In case of more tracking and in case of more monitoring of the people who are resided there, again, anyways, it frustrates anyone. The more you track, the more you monitor the people, and they lose their privacy. So that is one barrier. So you should find the right balance, what you have to track, what you have to monitor with them. And smart functionality in buildings also raises data privacy concerns. And the smart functionality. So this and the last ones, the closely related to this is the issue of security. So what the privacy concerns it raises, or what security concerns it raises is there is a saying in a computer industry or computer networks: any connected device is not safe. No matter it is a laptop or it is a mobile phone, until you are not connected to the internet, your mobile is secure. Nobody can hack it, nobody can connect to it if you are not part of an internet. There may be a physical theft, there may be a physical damage, or there may be a physical attack on your phone, but it will be never from remotely. So any device which is connected to the internet is no longer secure. No matter what antiviruses you use, what internet securities you install, what firewalls you set, whatever, any connected device will never be safe. In that sense, if you talk about, we're all talking about all the devices are connected to the internet, then then I must say all these devices, again, it is not secure. So what happens if it is not secure? For example, we have a smart door system. We have so many features implemented with it, right? So what if an hacker hacks it, and if he changes the functionality, whatever we have implemented, and he can access to the house also, right? He can access, if he hack the door, he can get access to the house as well, and he can do his things, his interested things probably. So that is the concern with the IoT. But yes, again, the security measures also improved a lot. For the connectivity, for hacking is not that easy, because a safety algorithms are enforced, a proper authentication system, authorization system, a multi-level authorization systems, and role-based authorization systems are all enforced in order to prevent such privacy and security concerns. But again, when we go back to the normal saying that any connected device is not safe, that is one barrier which IoT is facing in order to implement. The BMS can particularly vulnerable to hackers intent on taking control of and manipulating systems by using malwares. So malwares are the threats. It may be a viruses or ransomwares, kind of things. So let us end my presentation with this last video. So this is a recent collaboration with the Xerox company and an Australian government. So to monitor the bridges and the roads which have been developed. So whether what they're aged, what is the wear out which has happened. So all those things.
Those bridges weren't necessarily collapsing on us or were concerned about collapsing. We really just didn't know about the extent of that risk. How do we make that quantum shift into the digital world, particularly around structural health monitoring, and in this case of bridges?
They tried different sensors, but they never got the performance or the cost point that makes sense for them. And that's how we started to look into the problem.
Now Xerox and the Victorian government are coming together.
We are using fiber optic sensors that are hair thin going through the structure of the bridge.
We could stick that optic fibre to the bottom of a bridge, and as a result of that, we could measure multiple different changes, not only the operational activity on the surface, but we also could tell you what part of the bridge was actually deteriorating.
We can detect things at the level where we can see how many axles a vehicle has or what's its weight when it's going over the bridge, and we can do all that with just one sensor.
No one's put it together and strung, if you like, the whole process. Which ones are at risk, which ones are actually pushing the envelope of their engineering design and characteristics, and therefore which ones need to be looked at right now.
We have a really differentiated technology that solves a real problem that's not only in Australia or Victoria, but across the world.
But we'll take that type of technology and begin to put it into other fields of application within the transport and infrastructure sector.
And the mission fundamentally is, what is the impact we will have, lasting impact? That's what's going to matter.
It will be a contributing, defining moment, not just for us today, but for generations to come.
Here the fiber sensors are used, and it is used along with the structure and under the bridges to monitor several things, such as how many vehicles have been moved and what is the weight of those vehicles, and all other monitoring things which is really required bridges and roads. And if again, it is not only limited to a particular development, a particular government or particular location, it can be used across the globe in order to find out so what bridges are in the collapsing stages, or it is approaches to whether it is approaching to breakdown, the other factors. So if really if such things were implemented, we could have avoided the NH4 Tumkur Road incident. So we could have taken a preventive measure than which is being take place as a reactive measure. And finally, so projects to start with. So here are the simple ideas after knowing several developments in the construction industry, several developments in the IoT, when there are several sensors available. So where can we start with? So there is some point always we have to start. So in your construction sites or for your students, you can suggest the projects like install RFID similar to toll gates to track the consumables of the construction industry. And you can start using simple sensors like temperature, gas, smoke, humidity in construction sites for the vehicles, for the equipments in the construction industry, and log the collected data for future reference. So when data is collected and it is stored, we can get valuable insights from that data. So that's it from my side. So it's open for questions now.
Thank you very much, sir. Really, it was a very informative session. Now we will move on to the questions from various participants.
Yes, sir, sure.
I will take one by one. First
Sure.
question is, how IoT will help in building ecosystems?
So what we can have is we have several monitoring devices. We have several sensors available. So since from the inception or since from the planning stage, you can introduce IoT. You can read the success stories which is already available. Then you can start with that inception. And so using various sensors, you can test the soil values, different values which you get from the sensors, because that is also very important. The quality of the soil where you are going to build the building, so that is important. So you can use different sensors as I displayed. There are sensors available. You can use the sensors which is relevant, what information you have to collect. You can use appropriate sensors, and based on that insights, you can plan the construction. So once it is done, there are several monitoring devices available, and you can also customize it. You can use that monitoring devices in order to maintain or monitor that particular structure. So starting from taking an insight from the previous success stories until efficient monitoring of that structure, you can have a complete eco cycle.
Thank you, sir. Next question is, how are IoT useful for air and water pollution studies?
See, you can get the air quality using the sensors. Then you can take different actions. And in the water tanks or in the water reservoirs, you can, if it is required, you can check the quality of the water, or any contaminations is there in the water, that you can check with the sensors available. And you can connect to those. You will get an alert if you start using those sensors, and if you implement the sensors in place, you will get an alert about that information. Any change in the prescribed level, any change in the levels, any change in the quality, any change in the water quality, you will get intimated. So you can take any actions, or you can also automate that actions. You can also automate it. Probably if you are distributing water to the different houses, and if the water is contaminated to a considerable level, then probably you can stop the valve using different sensor. There is a sensor for stopping the valve also.
Thank you, sir. Next question is, Can we use IoT in monitoring the efficiency of thermal insulation in buildings?
If you can, since even we started exploring the civil industry with IoT, so there's a gap with my knowledge with the civil construction as well. If you can explain that what is the thermal thing, so I can relate to the correct sensor and I can define this. Can you come up with that question again, please?
Can we use IoT in monitoring the efficiency of thermal insulation in buildings?
So can I get some more information about thermal insulation?
The thermal insulation will provide the building against the variation in climate with respect to the temperature changes.
Okay, so for that, see, for that you can use humidity sensors, you can use vibration sensors which are available, and there are gyroscope sensors if any movements which happens. So you can use such sensors to monitor such things.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering all our queries. The concept of IoT application in construction industry is new for most of the civil engineers. So I hope it is an eye-opening session for all of us, because implementation of IoT in construction industry will definitely save time, provide safety, and reduce the efforts required for conducting most of the works by an ordinary laborers. So implementation of IoT in construction industry will definitely improve the quality and accuracy of the civil engineering works. So I hope all our participants got benefited from your thoughts about applications of IoT in construction industry. So once again, on behalf of AICTE, ISTE and Department of Civil Engineering, Jyoti Institute of Technology, we are very much thankful to you, sir. We expect same kind of support for conducting more and more interdisciplinary technical programs like this in future also. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ganesh. Before I conclude, we started exploring the civil engineering perspective and an IoT. We a few set of faculties and with a set of students who have already started working on IoT. Even we are trying to explore more options where all we can contribute, where all we can automate the process with different perspective. With the construction things. So definitely we can collaborate with the civil engineering requirements, what actually is required on the site, and what IoT can contribute for that. So what solution can IoT bring for that? So that can be discussed, and we can have a collaborative projects definitely. Uh, uh, yes, sir. So we as I said, we started exploring, and definitely in the coming months.
Manoj sir, am I audible? This is
Yes,
Keshav
sir. Yes,
here.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Thank you very much for accepting our request and giving presentation on IoT with respect to civil engineering, sir. On behalf of AICT, IST, JIT as a coordinator, I am very much thankful to you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
You're most welcome, sir. And I thank you for the opportunity given. I thank Dr. Sri Keshava, sir, and Principal, sir, for providing this opportunity, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Participants, today's attendance and feedback link is shared in Zoom chat box. The quiz questions will be shared within 5 p.m. today. Once again, a very happy new year for one and all. Have a nice day.
Thank you.